Hey, hello, and welcome to the Event Marketers Toolbox. I am Chris Dunn, and I've got a couple of friends on the box today. The we sorry, we were just laughing ahead of going live here. This is not the Frail Male and Pale show, although it may look like that. That's a different channel. So this is the Event Marketers Toolbox, where we talk to marketers, trade show professionals, video and content people, and we kind of tie it all together. So we're building a great community. We've had amazing conversations. We are actually on episode number 35. I'm very happy to welcome back one of our guest co-hosts, Mr. Brendon Hamlin. Hey, Brendon, how are you?
Hey, I'm great, Chris. Thanks so much for having me back. I've been away for a little while, but always a pleasure to jump in here. And
Fantastic. Tell us a little bit about Hamlin Creative, your company.
yeah, so we are a production company. So we do a wide range of content creation. A lot of that ends up being in the live event space. So, trade shows, experiential marketing, activations, all that kind of conferences, all that kind of stuff. So really love that special space where brands and a consumer or a B2B moment come together. It's really a unique opportunity to create content. And we've been doing that for over 10 years now. So about a decade plus that we've been in the content business.
Fantastic. That's good stuff. And then I've got another guest, this guy over on the other side. He's over there for me. Whoop, I'm mirrored. There we go. So that is Mr. Brandon Lee. And I'm going to throw it out there right now. Brendon and Brandon, like I am going to F this up. It's going to get messy, but just follow along and everybody just keep talking regardless of whether or not I say the right name or not.
I got called Blee in like high school and college. So if you need to go to the Blee for B Lee,
B. Lee, okay.
I respond.
There we go.
So I've lots of names in my life, so that one's one of the nice ones.
Brendon would be like actually one of the better things, even though it's not actually your name.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So normally I start talking a little bit about our sponsors, one of which is BlueHive, the company that I work for. But Brandon Lee, actually, you started the company called Fist Bump, and you are one of our sponsors. So this is a very cool opportunity. I've been on your show a few times. I actually met you because of Mastering Modern Selling. I found my way there. I think it was Larry Levine was a guest. I was a follower of Larry's. I ended up following your show, consuming your content. You and I connected. We start working together. I signed up for a coaching program, and then lo and behold, here we are. Fist Bump has been producing our podcasts, helping us create this amazing content on this channel for 35 weeks, right? We started the first of the year. So here we are. Great to have you as a guest. Why don't you add a little bit more background and color to that? How'd you end up with the name?
Fist Bump. Yeah, it's funny. I use the fist bump emoji, even though I think it's technically called punch face, which is a totally different use case. But, I always saw it as a fist bump. Look, I've like in business, anyone shakes your hand, right? You meet someone, you shake a hand, you have a bad meeting, you still shake hands. But a fist bump represents somebody that you have a connection with. Like you have you've built some sort of rapport. There's that emotional connection. And I'm a big believer in emotion. People, we are emotional beings. And I love the expression that logic makes us think, but emotion makes us act. And so throughout my career, I've been fortunate to learn this pretty early on that, business happens through relationship. My very first sales job, I had a leader who told me my job as a sales guy was to go out there and be likable and build relationships. Said, you don't need to know everything because you won't know everything, but your job is to build those relationships, build trust and rapport. And then when they have a need, we bring the team in. And then you've got the collective intelligence of the team. And it just always stuck with me. I enjoyed it more. I enjoyed that part. It made work a lot more fun and made relationship building the core part of my work and my success. And I think there's another expression that we say a lot, which is your net worth is your network. And I've just been a big believer in that. I've tried really hard over the years to focus on that network first, give first, serve first, and believe that we can't really outgive the universe. And so the more we give, we also get. And it actually makes it a lot more fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think one of the reasons that you and I hit it off is because that's certainly been my kind of thought process and my mantra. Just go out and make friends. I don't have to be perfect, but I have to care, right?
And have a purpose behind it and have a strategy, right?
Yeah.
And I know you know that, but I know a lot of times I've heard, whether it's been on stage or in other places, I talk about relationship first, and you get people like get frustrated and they get antsy in their seat. It's like, no. We're not just out trying to build friendships. It's a relationship first motion, but there's always that strategy of where can we serve, where can we add value, where could we benefit people. And it's not like we leave the sales behind and we're just like, hey, friends. So I think that's important just to clarify. There's some CEOs out there I've encountered that it's like, if you're not, always be selling, always be closing. It's like, yeah, that was a great era, but it's come and gone.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, we're on a live show today, pretty much as we are every Thursday at noontime here Eastern. Dave Childs is already checking in, but just a reminder: drop comments into the comment section here, and we'll react to them. I would hope. Keep them clean. And we'll work those in to the best of our ability. But we've got a great conversation coming up. So thanks again for joining us. Mr. Hamlin Creative, and obviously Brendon Lee of Fist Bump. Just a quick word. So BlueHive is our sponsor. That's the company I work for. We are a creative exhibit agency. We help exhibitors, anything from really like a well-funded startup up through multi-billion-dollar corporation. We like to feel like we're in that right-sized group where we're bigger with more resources than a boutique. And we're smaller and more customer service centric than the real big guys where your program is just a number. So shout out to BlueHive. Thanks for keeping the lights on here with the Toolbox podcast. It's been a blast doing this. And I'm sure we're going to get into kind of some of the reasons why having a show, becoming a thought leader, and ultimately using that reputation that we're developing to help build revenue. I'm sure that's going to be a talking point. So that's the meat and potatoes of the show. We're going to get into it, and I'm going to kick it over to my co-host, Brendon with an E. Hey, why don't you take it away and kick off the first line of questions?
Yeah, sure. And just, so I've grown up in the South, and so my name is interchangeable. So I have been called Brandon as much as I've been called Brendon my whole life. So
there you go.
Which will just further confuse everybody. So
and then you get the occasional Brian thrown in there too.
Yeah.
Just, hey, anything with a BR, I kind of respond to.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Is it coincidental that my son's name is Brady, starts with a B? My dog's name is Barton, starts with a B. I mean, I don't think so. I think we're meant to be here. This is something that the universe has been contriving to put together for a while. See in the two B's.
Well, so just so the audience knows, Brendon and I had the opportunity to meet in person recently, which was really great. And I happened to be in Atlanta, and he had reached out about wanting to connect with me. And so it was really great to spend that time with you, Brendon, and really get to know you one-on-one. We got kicked out of a meeting room, which was kind of exciting. Like, wow, who knew that was?
Who are these guys?
Yeah, who are these guys? Get out. But I think what I wanted to dive in a little bit more with, and we talked a little bit in our time together, was really this notion about reputation, and how is that sort of the currency of today, especially in we spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, we're building these networks, but how does that reputation kind of permeate in through the your business point of view?
Yeah, so I want to go down two paths. So let me start with one. And the first one is that for like the hardcore sales leaders, CEOs, it's all about like, prospect. We're not discounting that. But when we look at reputation, because we have these tools, we have LinkedIn, we have YouTube, we have Instagram, we have all these digital tools, it gives us a richer way to use that to actually build reputation, right? So we can use LinkedIn and we can post about our business and what we do, which tends to get highly ignored and very boring. And we could do that. And I'll say LinkedIn, but insert any social channel there you want. We could also use it for direct messaging and using it much more like email, because none of us get enough email. We need more direct messages trying to sell us stuff in our LinkedIn inboxes. Or we look at this and go, I mean, the aha moment for me came back in about 2018-ish, is when it dawned on me that LinkedIn is actually just like a big conference. It's a digital conference, but it's 24 hours a day. Everybody in your industry is there. They may not be here right now, right? But they're there. Everybody has a name tag, just like at a conference, so you can look around and go, oh, I want to meet that person. And in a live event, we don't walk up to somebody, pull out our brochure and stick it in their face as our first motion and go, I do this, do you have 30 minutes for coffee? Right? We don't do that with real human beings in real life, because it's rude and it's ineffective. Like, there's relationship building, human dynamics is more nuanced than that. We all have a wall that we put up. We want to know, who is this person? Do I feel like I can trust them? Do I like them a bit? I mean, like and trust has always been the foundation of sales. And I'd say over the last 15 years or so, with so much tech, we've, in certain industries, and not all, I mean, I like Chris's comment up here that true business is a byproduct of solid relationships. But it's gotten really easy with tech to kind of sit behind the tech and push the tech out and tell everybody how awesome we are, and wait for all of them to realize it and come running to us and go, oh, please give me a demo. And it's not working for a lot of reasons. I think it worked for a little while because that messaging was new and novel, and it was like, oh, we got direct message. Oh, we got these emails. Oh, we can download a white paper. Oh, this is really cool. But oh my gosh, I don't know about you guys, I'm so done with it, because now everybody's doing that. And it's just this constant flow of, can I get your time? That whole interruptive outreach. It's so much. So what can we do? What can we do differently? And the biggest unique, and I like to call it the uniqueifier that we have, is our own experiences. And just like in a live conference or networking event, we usually start with personal conversation. It could be, hey, have you come to this event a lot? Or how did you get here? Oh, I see you're from there. Did you drive or did you fly? How long are you staying? You staying through the end of the event? Like, we use these conversation starters to start building relationship. And I'll relationship in air quotes, because it's not really relation. It's just building that rapport. And what's happening at that stage? Both people, or in a small group, we're assessing, do I like these people? Is this somebody I want to have a future conversation with? And once we get through that and we start to build a little bit of rapport, then we can move it into like, hey, I know that you do this. This is what we do. Could we grab a coffee and talk a little bit about it? That's real life. And when it dawned on me that we could do that with LinkedIn, it totally changed the way I started looking at these digital tools for building influence, building relationship, and building our reputation. I think influence, relationship, and reputation are kind of synonymous for me when I speak about this topic.
I've felt that over the last really couple years, when we really identified LinkedIn as a place where we could really put some effort into that, it, just like you said, it wasn't just about, here's all of our capabilities, let us know how, let's chat, or whatever the closing line is, but really about learning about me or my team as people. And then, because there's lots of people that do what we do. So what's the differentiator? Just like you said, Brendon, it's me, or it's my team. It's how we treat that client, how we interact with them. And that's the way that we can really connect with our clients in a different way, and draw more people to us. So that's why we do our posts are varied. Sometimes it's about a project we did, or capabilities that we do have, or a place we visited, or something personal. And that sort of ebb and flow creates your own personal brand, which I think then leads back to your reputation.
Yeah, and we'll go back to that. Logic makes people think, and emotion makes people act. Well, when we start to incorporate our humanity into our business and create content, we're giving other humans an emotional way to connect with us. We're giving them something to remember us by. Again, we are the uniqueifier. But if we're not sharing that part of us, sharing from our experiences, sharing from our observations, even sharing from our feelings, I'll give this as an example. Shout out to Benj and McKinsey at System and Soul, who are one of our Fist Bump clients, and they have their show, Sessions by System and Soul. And Benj and I had known each other on and off throughout the years. We're never really close, but we saw each other one day, and he said, "Brendon, I need to talk to you. I got to take a look at this leader-led content. Let's chat." Great. We schedule a coffee, and I asked him. I said, "So Benj, why me? Why now?" And he kind of like laughed a little bit, and he's like, "I can't believe I'm going to tell you this." But he goes, "A while ago, you posted in LinkedIn, and it was you and your daughter on a hiking trail. But the message was about you forgot that a storm had just passed through a week prior and didn't think about it. And you got out there and the trail was a mess." And so we were like climbing over down trees, and, there's rocks and stuff, and the trail wasn't as, smooth as it used to be. And I related it to business. Sometimes in business, we show up and we think, here's the trail, and we find out that it's not as smooth and not as easy. But what did I do there? Let me dissect that for people. I used a picture of my personal life.
Yeah.
I'm sharing a little bit about my humanity. I like to hike. I like the outdoors. I'm very involved with my children. And then I related it to business, and he remembered that. He remembered that post from years prior. Why did he remember it? The personal part gives the emotional connection, and we humans are emotional. We can't get around it. We're various levels of emotion, but we're at the core, we're emotional beings. So it gave him something, and my uniqueifier, he remembered it. He likes hiking. He likes going out in the outdoors with his kids. He's got 4 kids. He likes spending a lot of time with his wife and his kids. So I gave him something to remember me by. If I had just talked on that about live shows, podcasts, content engines, and all that, it probably would have been, that's where the logic, that's interesting. And 60 seconds later, he's on to the next thing and completely forgot about me.
Right.
So that's where our reputation, we have the ability to rise to the top in people's memories and psyches and emotions by bringing a bit of our humanity to the table. Now, I'll say this for him, I'm not saying go like all kind of Facebook. Like, I don't put pictures of my plate of food and tell everybody I'm eating lunch.
Yeah.
But it's incorporating bits of your humanity, just like you would in a live event. If you're at a conference, they go, "Well, hey, have you ever been to Boston before?" Like, "Oh, I came up with my family one time, and we went to the aquarium, and we did this and we did that." You would share some of those types of things.
Yeah.
Why do we do that? We're building rapport. We're sharing bits of our person.
Yeah. It's interesting. Obviously, Brendon, you and I met and I started working with you on our LinkedIn presence, both for myself as well as my company. And it started really to make sense. And as you're talking about it, I'm the event guy, right? I'm trade shows. And I'm like, the motions of what we're doing here in using this digital platform and social networking and so forth, are so similar to what we do on the trade show floor with regards to how we're building rapport, how we're doing that. And I know we're going to get to it in a little bit, but obviously the idea of building that reputation that we're talking about, and leveraging that to push more interest when we know we're going to an event, right? We can build a pre-show motion that takes advantage of all of this stuff, where we're creating this kind of a secondary funnel type of a thing to drive the ability to, gain interest and to attract people and be like, this is going to be great. You're really going to not want to miss us here when we're, doing this live thing. And the two things are so related. Hey, I want to pull up, Dave Childs had a question a little bit before. So before we kind of jump into relating this a little bit more directly into the event world. So Dave's question was, I'd love to hear more about how you leverage relationships into a non-threatening offer when business does present itself. So how do you make that leap, right? And I think I'm guilty of this, right? I could use a maybe recognizing the signals, or, when do I make that step? I tend to like to keep things really loose and more humanity based and personal. But it's at some point, let's admit it, right? We're all here to gain business. So what does that transition potentially look like?
Yeah, I think part of that is having your own strategy in place, your own process, right? I learned years ago from Brian Tracy that if you don't have a process to move to close, you'll never move to close.
Mm-hmm.
So it's having a system or a tactic or a strategy. Like, when do you move this from relational to, so tell me, what are you doing about this? And I think there's people that tend to be on the far side about relationship first will struggle with bringing business in. People that are all business will struggle to bring the relationship. And the key is to be able to be in the middle. And I always found the right way to do it is to have that process, have that system. And for me, it tends to be, hey, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I'm generally also asking a lot about their company, about their industry, like, what are you struggling? I try to bring it in more naturally. So I use the relationship side to get more conversations. Then in the conversations, I'm looking for the opportunities to add value. And it comes from a lot of questions like, hey, how's this working for you? What are you experiencing in these areas? Oh, tell me about that. Just like my friend Carl, he always talks about being super curious and being curious. And you can find a lot of times by asking very curious questions that it'll kind of naturally move in that direction. One strategy, be curious, ask a lot of questions, and start using your questions to lead the conversation to the topic that you want to ask about. And if you really believe in your product, your service, and it's very beneficial, it should be very natural. The second way, and this is what I learned way back when from Brian Tracy, was more direct. Like, okay, we've got to a certain point. I've gathered some information, and then move into your closing process, which usually starts with a very direct question. It might be hey, if we could help you do XYZ, would it be worth a conversation? Or, hey, it seems to me from what you're saying that these are areas of concern. Is that something we can start fleshing out a little bit? And even later, it might be more. So Dave's question was more about how do you move it into a non-threatening offer? First of all, I try to move it slowly in that direction and see it evolve. But if it's more of like, if you're more of not too much of a relational sale, but it's more transactional, then it's definitely a very direct, hey, here's what we do. Is this something that would be of interest to you? And move it very quickly. I just haven't sold transactional in so long. I do it more from that place of curiosity with lots of questions, but I'm constantly looking for the opportunities where I could add value. And usually that value starts with a question.
Yeah,
Is that
perfect. I think that's a great answer.
Without a specific example.
Right. And Dave did say he's a relationship based guy and he's working his way to the middle. So yeah. I think we hit a chord there.
I love that. I love the way he just said it. I shared with you guys, I think before we went live, I like the term go to network instead of go to market. Go to market, just over the years, it's really like, how are we going to go outbound? How are we going to go communicate? How are we going to go tell everybody who we are and what we do? Go to network for me is, hey, let's find our ideal customers. Where are they? And how do we go put ourselves in the middle of that and become known, build relationships, build influence, become known, which a live show and podcast is a really great way to do that in a very specific space. Because now you're bringing in guests that your ideal customers know of. I mean, we have all these different guest and episode strategies that you can use, but go to network is a mindset of how do I go get in the middle of this, learn, give, and become more relational, influential, and relevant, and build my reputation.
Yeah. I want to use, love it. Love it. I want to use kind of this as the pivot point to kind of talk a little bit more specifically about events, and trade shows and so forth. So, how do we take some of these strategies and leverage them for our benefit at events? And as you're talking, I'm thinking we do trade shows as well, right? We not only build the booths, but we go out and we do shows ourselves. And I'm standing in the booth and I'm having these conversations and I'm thinking about, how you're strategically kind of working your way through these conversations. A little different when you're at a trade show, right? And somebody actually approaches you and comes in, you kind of know that they're there for a reason. We're going to get to that business conversation sooner than later. But again, if all I do is run up to them and be like, are you ready to buy a booth? You want it in blue? Versus like, hey, how's it going? I see you're from, San Jose or San Francisco, or right. Yeah. You build the rapport in the beginning and then you work your way through those conversations. And obviously we already kind of touched upon, and I love, in order to get people to come into your booth, to be known, to have that reputation. So whether you're using a channel like this to kind of be a thought leader in the industry and have people walk in, this has started to happen to me. People catch me. I've seen you, on LinkedIn. I've seen you, with your show. So that's a great way to kind of to build that. So from a leader-led standpoint, this is a great tool. You definitely had to get me over, my scared, my scared self, and like, no, I could never do that. And then got me to a point where I became comfortable enough to give it a whirl. And again, here we are, 35 weeks in. So it's been great, kind of going through the process. And I know that the trade show component is a cog on the marketing flywheel, right? It's one piece. This is also a piece, and they all need to work harmoniously, together. So I've just talked in a big circle, but let's bring this back to like, how do we use, reputation and action and translate what you're talking about to the trade show floor?
Yeah. It's, look, how many people out there you've spent a lot of money, you get your team, you get in your booth, and it could be, a small booth, it could be a big booth. But then people are walking by and they kind of side eye you. They kind of look and they're curious what you do because they might want to go talk to you, but they don't want to be hounded by you. And so they kind of side eye and they're nervous. When you have a reputation, like this is the go-to-network concept, you've gotten involved, you use a show, you share content, you bring guests from the industry. So they're like, oh, you know this person and this person and this person. And then when they see you at the show, whether it's in your booth or it's in line to get a cup of coffee, it's I know you, or I feel like I know you. And a lot of that fear goes down because they recognize you. They've heard you online. They've seen your content. They've watched your show. They get a sense for who you are, and it lowers that barrier. And a lot of people, whether it's them coming to us, which is great, or it's when we go to them and they go, oh yeah, I feel like I already know you. I see all your content. Just that wall drops down immediately. And now we're in conversation. I think that's the biggest way, like, planning and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to an event, or if you're a smaller company, you're still spending $20,000, $30,000 to go to an event. That's a big expense. It's a big investment. And a lot of times the strategy is hope. I hope we're going to get there. And I hope a lot of people are going to come into our booth and we're going to scan their badge, or we're going to build a database and we're going to go email the heck out of them for the next month afterwards. And we hope that's going to turn into something. Look, there's just a much better way of doing it. And that better way is grow your reputation, become more relevant in the industry, become known. And we have these very easy tools. The hardest part to using these tools in this manner is fear. Getting outside of ourselves and putting ourselves out there. That's the biggest challenge that people have. It's scary. I get it. Like, we're putting ourselves out there for people to take pop shots at. Well, you said this, and well, I didn't really mean that, but you just, you get punched. And, the cancel culture doesn't seem to be so high like it was years ago. And so I think some of that is starting to wane a bit. But for a while with cancel culture, people are just too scared to put themselves out there. Like, what if I say something stupid? Well, you know what? When you're in a boardroom and you're presenting to a prospective customer and it's filled with people, you have the potential to say something stupid there too. But you don't, because you're thinking about it. You're aware of what you're saying. It's the same thing here. We just have to be aware of what we're saying. Don't say stupid things. How's that?
Or if you do say something, if you do say something stupid, you own it and you just move on.
Yeah.
I said that. That was wrong. Sorry.
But what I see with this trade shows, yes, we have shows. There's strategies around. We're going to go to a trade show. I'm working with the customer right now, and we've got this trade show we're going to in January. Well, what are some of the things that we know about the trade show? Number one, we may not have the list of everybody that's going to attend, but if we know who they are, we know their industry, we know their titles, well, then LinkedIn and YouTube and all these other options where we can advertise, we can target them with ads, right? So we take clips from our show. Maybe we use a show like yours, and you have a strategy for a 6 to 8 week period where you have topics and guests that are very, very focused on the people who are going to be attending this show. And you talk about the conference. I'll say trade show and then live show podcast. But you can have content and topics and conversations that are very strategic to appeal to the people that are going to that conference. Start inviting them to come to the live show and podcast, sending out the connection requests. Much better connection request than, hey, I'm with this company and this is what we do. Do you have 30 minutes for a coffee? Is, hey, I'm the host of this show. This is what we do. These are some of the guests that we have. Love to have you attend, or maybe you or someone in your company would be a good guest for us. Very much different. But now you've got that content, you turn it into shorts, like social post, and then use very inexpensive brand building ads to target the people that are going to be at the conference. Here's what happens. They're seeing you. It looks like an organic post. It's just in their news feed. They're seeing you. Then they're at the event and they look over and they go, oh, I know you guys. The wall drops down. I'm not so scared to go in there. I've been seeing them, right? What's the, I just blanked on it. What's the expression is proximity creates familiarity.
Yeah. Okay.
We're able to be near them, not physically, but we're near them because we're on their screen, and they can, they keep seeing, then they see you in person. They're like, oh, you referenced my other show, Mastering Modern Selling, and Tom Burton is one of my co-hosts, and Kevin Brown, his partner in their business. They've been doing a show about a little bit longer than we've been doing Mastering Modern Selling. And they tell me all the time, Kevin goes to these shows and people tap him on the shoulder like, oh my gosh, Kevin. He's like, hey, how you doing? He has no clue who they are.
Right.
But because of the show, there's people out there, they feel like they know him, and they're, it's in a micro way. It's like, the Jimmy Fallons of the world. You tune in and watch him all the time, and you feel like you know him. If you saw him somewhere, you'd walk up to him and go, hey, Jimmy, right? It was that way for years with the evening news. Newscasters had credibility. All they actually did was read the news, but because we saw them every night and they gave us information that we wanted, we gave them credibility. We felt like we knew them. We would go out of our way to go find, see them in places. You see them in a restaurant, like, oh my gosh, that's them. It's a microcosm of that. But we then just have to use these tools in a way that allows us to do that.
I think you'd actually mentioned, or maybe you and Tom talked about it on your show, but they've actually started in their booth, right? And his company is called, what's Tom's company? Tom and Kevin's company. Lead Smart, right? In the Lead Smart booth, they put actually the name of the podcast up just as high and give it equal billing with Lead Smart, because they knew that was a draw. And their format was really, the two of them get together, they kind of go through the news in their industry, and they've become that newscaster, right? They become that place of not responsibility, but being well known for delivering things that they want.
That is a phenomenal. I mean, I've been thinking through like wanting to incorporate that episode strategy of a show. You're curating other people's content, and then you talk about it on the show, and you, in a sense, become the news for the industry. And Kevin and Tom get people to come to and go, "Oh my gosh, I love your show." It's like I watch it for an hour and I learn from you guys, and then I go into the break room, or I go into the boardroom and I go, I read this article the other day, and they like regurgitate the opinions that they had on the show. Well, they're not like just ripping it off. They're learning from Tom and Kevin, and their guests, and then they're using it in other conversations internally, and it's making them feel smarter, look smarter, be smarter. They're becoming more educated in the industry because of the show. Those guys are going to get all kinds of credibility. I mean, Tom and Kevin have been getting invited into businesses to come in and just talk to the leadership team because of their show. That has nothing to do with sales. Oh, it's got everything to do with sales.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. Hey, we've got some folks checking in here. So obviously Dave has several comments. We see Miss Sarah Hamlin. Last name, any relation to Brandon? Brendon?
Yeah, I think so.
No, I have no idea.
Look on the family tree.
Exactly. Chris Musgrave. So Chris has got a question here, and I've read it a couple times. It's a slippery slope. I don't know if Mile, can we pull this up here? Slippery slope for those that don't have solid fundamentals of the approach, as their presence can also become fatiguing depending on the content.
Yep. Yeah. I here's the way I read that is, we have to train. We have to train this. In one of my companies a long time ago, we trained over and over again how to work a room at a cocktail party. That's where a lot of our prospects were. And we know, you look at it, I mean, this, we're all the same age. We look in this room and you're like, hey, this is a target rich environment. Got my quote? You know where it's from? It's a target rich environment. I had to throw a little Top Gun in there. But if you don't work the room, so to speak, in the right way, that target rich environment becomes a goose egg. Right? Everybody in here, we want to know them, but if you're not equipped, you're not skilled. So we did a lot of training with how to start conversations, how to be a good conversationalist, how to be curious, and then be able to go around. Like, how do you go and just, for a lot of people, it's just practicing, like, how do you go walk up to a complete stranger and introduce yourself? Sorry, Chris, that was in regard to the familiarity approach. Okay, so let me start with those that don't have a solid foundation approach. Oh, yeah. Cool. Chris, hopefully I'm answering that question. Maybe I'm not. But, it's training. We have to practice and practice and practice. I could have the ideal networking event filled with all my customers. I could sign up, but if I actually don't show up, it's a wasted event. Or if I do show up, I get nervous and I just go sit up against the wall and drink my drink and stay for a couple hours and leave and don't meet anybody. It's a wasted environment. So I think that training is really important, whether it's a live event, and the training is super important when it comes to creating content. Because number one, having a community of people. I mean, Chris, you and I have done this within our community of people like, hey, I tried this and it bombed. It was awful. And you got people around, oh yeah, I've done that too. Don't worry about it. Keep going. You have that support and that encouragement that when you try something that nobody cares about, you can at least laugh at it and go try something different. When you're alone, you're in a silo and you post something and you get crickets, it's really hard to recover and go, oh, let me go do that again tomorrow. I love it.
That felt so good.
Yeah, right.
Now, Brendon, you're an entrepreneur's entrepreneur. You've started several companies. Even your approach and what you're doing has evolved with regards to Fist Bump and the offerings. I know that specifically you have something that's really dialed in towards shows, but I want to kick this really over to Brendon. So Brendon, your wheelhouse is creating content on, at events, and then
Right.
the benefits that you get from taking that content, whether it's real quick, quick edits, pushing it out that night to maybe promote tomorrow, or using it after the show as after show follow through, or even taking that, first, event A, taking that content and then using that to push people towards event B, which is 5 months from now, but similar enough that we can talk about it. So I want you guys to, kind of run with that conversation, but I see some nice paths being kind of crossed there. Brendon, your you have a specific kind of motion, booth, the kind of the booth domination type of thing. You're kind of working on, some show related projects like that, creating content on site, being visible, microphone in hand, interviews, all those kind of things. So I just kind of wanted to start that conversation, and let's see where that goes.
Yeah. I think what Brendon and I do is a great 1-2 punch. Like, what his content is more professional, it's more strategic, it's very structured, and it is brand. What I look at is how do we take the humans that are inside of the brand and leverage their humanity to go build influence and build relationships. I think they're very, very complementary.
I love the idea of, well, I'm a promo guy. So I came out of the promo world for about 18 years before I launched my own production company. So I know a lot about how to get people to an event, and meaning like a broadcast, TV show or whatever. But what I love is when we can capture content within the event and then carry the message forward. And I think that's a component that I think is a little bit missing and a little bit, I don't know, misunderstood, or just, I don't know if folks are really completely clear about how to best leverage that event. Because just what you're saying, Brandon, like the reputation that you built up to get people to the event extends well past the event. And so you can continue that conversation just like you got them there, and invite them to other things that aren't just, an ad or, a call to action, but like an event, an online event or something like that. I think that there's all of this sort of circular type of presence that a brand can have that can really leverage that event well beyond just what happens on site. Yeah. Are you seeing that as well in your work?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I believe that live events are going to become more and more popular. I think, 5 years out of COVID, pushing 6 years out of COVID, companies are starting to ask employees to come back into the office more. I think live events, face to face, shaking hands is, I think our humanity misses it overall. Yeah. And I know I don't want to get into the controversy of remote versus, but I believe there's we're relational beings and people want to be face to face. Secondly, I think there's so much sales first motions out there that people are being bombarded with, that we have our human filter, just like we have spam filters on email. We all carry our own human filters. Like, we can see a post and sniff it a mile away and know it's a pitch, and we scroll right past it.
Yeah.
Right? We're just so tired of being pitched. And that's why I think that opportunity is of bringing our humanity and talking about our experiences and our observations in business. That 1-2 punch and marrying those together is content that people are more curious about. Now there's also the challenge. I just spoke with someone the other day, and I'll be honest, I've been burned out on LinkedIn a bit. And I talked to somebody the other day. They're like, I'm just so tired of seeing the same formula over and over again. Here's I lost my job in 2008, and I thought life was ruined. And then they go on and tell their story. It's like, we find things that are working, like a post structure that works. And then somebody goes out and tells millions of people how to do it. And then our LinkedIn feed is filled with it.
Yeah.
We're chasing the algorithms. I think, what I find is just be consistent with your humanity. I've given myself some freedom. Like, I've just been a little burned out. I haven't posted nearly as much as I've done, and I was just burned out, and I didn't care. But I know when I do it, it's very human, it's very real, it's very authentic, and I find my network, and my network finds me.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to sell to people who don't really like my style anyway. So why should I try to create content that's not my style to begin with? So I know I kind of took that down a different path from what we were talking about, but yeah, there's always room for digital because it's convenient, but the more face-to-face humanity style we bring into digital, the better results that we get from it.
Yeah, I think I posted after we met Brandon in person about my friend Joel Pilger, who talked about his mantra is experts travel, and that the difference between somebody working on their he posted recently somebody working on their deck in their office to then present to a client, and him sitting in Boston at a bar with that same client talking about the project, who's gonna win, and most likely it's the guy that's in real life. I do think there's a pendulum swinging back towards people seeking the connection. I feel like I hear you about LinkedIn and just feeling like we're working for it, and
we are.
Yeah.
By the way,
every time we logged in and they show us ads, they're making money.
Yeah. But I do feel like it is part of the the whole ecosystem, and you can't rely on just that. Get out there and meet people in person. Chris and I are texting all the time, planning a beer summit here in Asheville. I think it's all a holistic approach, and I think that sometimes people are looking for the one thing, and that the one thing is gonna burn you out. And so
we need a 10K in the morning, Brendon.
That's right.
10K in the morning and the beer summit in the afternoon.
That's right. We'll give you the digits or the dates on that and make a plan. So
that's awesome. Brandon, one of your recent, let's call it pivots or just the evolution of what Fist Bump offers. You were talking to us a little bit earlier about the new rollout of the roundtable idea, right? Where you're putting a bunch of CEOs or like-minded kind of leaders, probably not in a physical room, but in a virtual room together, and the benefits of kind of that one-on-one interaction. Again, it kind of goes back to the benefits of live shows. Live events and being face-to-face with people, and not just, somebody shouting into a void, but actually, back and forth conversations between just a couple of people in like a small group format. I also think that live events are just going to skyrocket from here. And a lot of people are talking about micro events and just finding ways to do smaller, more, really intentional versus, the thousands and thousands of people. So there's some similarities there as well.
Yeah. Look, I think the foundation of all this is it's harder and harder and harder for us to get conversations with our ideal customers. That's the foundation of it. And we all want more conversations with our ideal customers, right? Everybody listening, we can agree to that. If we're all getting pitched so much, we all have way too much email, we all have way too many calls coming in from unknown numbers, it's going to keep getting more and more difficult to talk to them. We've got to flip that script. We've got to change. Like, how do we become attractive for them to want to be in conversation with us? Well, we have to add more value, and that doesn't mean better pitches. It doesn't mean, tell them more about who we are and what we do. So the roundtable is designed that we can invite a bunch of like-minded people into a peer-to-peer conversation. Very clearly, this is not a sales pitch, and it's not a webinar. Like, we've collectively kind of ruined webinars too. Webinar used to be you show up and you're going to learn something, and now they're about 40% of kind of teaching you something, and then 60% of a sales pitch where they're going to just go do it for you. Right. And we've learned, we're like, I don't want to go to webinars anymore because I don't know what I'm going to get. Is it going to be a waste of my time, or is it going to be a true webinar that's going to teach me something? And so I like this model. Our clients are the ones that moderate it. They host it. They put it together. It's just like a micro event. It just happens digitally. And we're inviting their ideal customers. The topic of conversation is the topic that they care about, not the moderator. It's like, oh, I'm not going to do a roundtable on podcasts and live shows if people don't want to talk about that. I'm going to do a topic that they care about, so they want to come, and I'm just going to moderate and help them talk with each other. And yeah, I'll have my opinions and everything, but when we do that as a moderator and we get 20, 25 people in a room, and then the next day we call all 20, 25 people who attended and say, hey, how was that? What did you get out of it? They're much, much, much more likely to answer our call because they just had this great peer-to-peer experience that you put together, you coordinated. It's like going to an event and wanting to know the company who coordinated the event because they know everybody. Right? So that's the basic concept of the roundtable, but it always comes back to the same model I focused on for most of my career, which is how do we put ourselves in the middle of the community of the people we want to know, who we eventually want to sell to, and become more relevant, build our reputation, and become more influential. And right now, what's working really well is these peer-to-peer roundtable discussions. Just be the moderator. That's it. Be the moderator. And then when you call them, they're like, oh, yeah, hey, that was such a great. Thank you for putting that on. And I connected with this person. I connected with that person. And now you're in conversation with them. And that's been, from everyone I talk to, the hardest part right now is getting their at-bats, getting conversations. It's like, well, if we're playing the numbers games and everyone we talk to is like, we do XYZ, do you have 15 minutes for a coffee? Or, hey, if you spend 30 minutes with me, I'll give you a $100 Amazon gift card, and we result in bribery, right? If we're not getting the calls, then we got to change the way we're trying to get conversations. And I've just found it to be extremely, extremely powerful.
Yeah. Tremendous.
I love it.
You know, we're at 52 minutes here. We try to keep it under an hour here on the Toolbox. So I'm going to start to wrap things up a little bit. One of the things we like to do is ask our guest about 3 kind of tips or tactics. So, Brandon, kind of
Sure.
whether they related to the pre or during or post show, but kind of, can you drop a little knowledge on us with a few tactics?
And I'm going to say the main one, and it's really, really difficult for people to do it because of fear. But try this and get several people in your company or build a group of people and all try this together. And it's that marrying of something around your humanity and then add it to your business. Like the story I told about the picture I took of my daughter and I hiking, and then related it back to the uncertainty of business, and things happen that we don't expect and we have to adjust. If you're thinking like, hey, we need to be more active on LinkedIn, number one, don't go to AI generated content and just publish it. It stinks of AI and people are going to ignore it. But this would be the number one thing. If you can get over that fear and generally find a group of people that you can do it with, and then practice it, and create the post and share it with your community before you actually publish it. What do you guys think of this? And it's like any other muscle. It's like going to the gym. It's like working out. Brendon, you and I running. We didn't get up one morning and go run a half marathon. I started walking 45 minutes a day and then started running. Practice, get better at it. But I believe I've seen it. Chris, you're an example of it. When you start showing up, I love your post with Barton the dog. Right? You've taken a big piece of your humanity. I know you've engaged with lots of dog lovers because of it, and they remember you because of it. And a lot of their companies, they need exhibits. They need booths. They need you. And so I think It's hard. I get it. It's hard. It's so much easier to hide behind our title and only post about our company, our offering, or the industry. But they're out there waiting for you. And when you have that courage to show up in your humanity, you build influence and relationships. I mean, the three of us on here are a good example of it. We wouldn't have met otherwise, most likely.
Yeah.
Right? We wouldn't have met. And Chris, after I don't know how long it was when we first met each other in real life, it was a big hug and a beer and a great conversation because we had all this time online behind screens to get to know each other. But that doesn't happen if all you're doing is posting about your business.
Yeah.
It's leading with the flyer, and nobody wants to be receive a flyer.
I like to refer that as just like fast tracking, the know, like, and trust. Like the very first time that we met in person was not the very first time that we met. So we immediately were like, how's your daughter doing with that thing? She just graduated, new job, other daughter got married. Great. Right. It's like we hit the ground running.
Yeah. And I would say specifically around your audience, Chris, with the trade shows, you want people coming into your booth with enthusiasm. You want them to come in and go, I want to talk to you. It starts months earlier, and it's generally going to start not just with content. It's humanity content. They need to know you. Humans start with the heart and it goes to the brain. I know we want to believe everything goes to the brain and then it gets to the heart. It's just not the way we're programmed. Emotion creates action. Emotion creates memory. Anthony Iannarino, some of you know him. He's a speaker and author, and he's really well known in the sales space. And I was telling him one time, and I know I totally bummed him out, but it illustrates this point. When one of his talks at the Outbound conference, he walked out on stage and he goes, "Oh, hold on, let me drink water before I start." And he has a sip of water and he goes, "By the way, everybody here, the first thing in the morning when you get out of bed, you should drink an 8-ounce glass of water because your body dehydrates so much while you sleep." And then he went on and started giving his talk. Guess what I remembered from his whole talk?
Drink water.
Right. And I told him that, and he goes, "Of all the things that I've shared in all my books, that's what you remembered?" I go, "Well, there's other things I remember, but it was different."
Mm-hmm.
Right? It wasn't what I expected him to say from stage for the Outbound, so it stood out.
Yeah. Do the unexpected.
That's what we have the opportunity to do. And by the way, if you're looking at LinkedIn, you're like, "Oh, all these people are," but there's still only about 3% of people on LinkedIn are publishing regularly. So if you're looking at the news feed and going, "Oh my gosh, everybody's doing it." No, they're not. They're not. Most of them are not. So there's plenty of opportunity for you to be in that news feed and to be known. And it fills pipeline, because then when you call people, they're more likely to return your call. You're sending emails, are more likely to send emails. You send a LinkedIn message, you comment on their posts, they're much more likely to do it. I mean, this is the same. You create posts like we just talked about, and then people start commenting and you comment back, and then you send them a direct message and you ask for a call. You want to grab a coffee? Let's get to know each other. Right? It's not simple like, 1,000% batting average, everybody's going to say yes. But that leads to lots of conversations.
Spot on. Spot on.
It works. Yep.
Hey, I know I've got a hard stop coming up, so there's one last question. Common reputation killing mistakes to avoid. This is one that I knew we had to ask.
I think right now pitch slaps, LinkedIn automation tools, which, they're not allowed, but LinkedIn allows them anyways. The false, "Hey, we have lots of," I got one. "Hey, we have lots of common, friends in common, but we don't know each other." I'm like, just waiting. I know what's going to happen. I'm like, okay, sure. And then sure enough, the next message was this long of what he does for work and a link to schedule a 15-minute coffee so I can learn more. Like, I hate to say that's bad, but it's gotten so prevalent that it's just bad. The reason it ruins your reputation is what you led with was a little bit of a lie. Hey, I want to be connected. No, you don't. You want to try and sell me something. And then as soon as we're connected, you try to sell me something. And the human filter starts to go, right?
Yep.
If I saw that person in a live face-to-face event, would I be all excited to go talk to them? No, I would be expecting if I talk to them, they're going to try and sell me again, because that's what they led with the first time. They're probably going to lead with it again.
It's like a digital door-to-door salesman. As soon as that person knocks on your door, they're trying to sell you something.
Yep. Exactly.
Musgrave been very active today. So a couple of things as we're wrapping up, politics and religion, just like bar rules, like also third rail kind of stuff. And Chris, I agree with you. The traditional old school kind of way of doing trade shows and conferences is definitely antiquated. I know things are changing. I think, millennials are in the driver's seat now and they want a different experience. Gen Z following shortly behind them. So the way
and
that
experience is the key in that, right?
Yep, exactly. So, all right, gents, this has been fantastic. We're going to wrap it up. So thank you all for tuning in. Again, this was a live show, but it's also now available on your favorite podcast platforms. It'll be out in a couple days, and a little sneak peek behind the curtain. So this channel, not only are you seeing us here live having this conversation, but Brendon, I did it right. Brendon's company, Fist Bump, will send me and BlueHive about 5 or 6 video shorts from this, and we use that as content. And here's one other little cool thing that I've started doing is my AI ChatGPT little robot knows all of the shows, and I can go in and ask it questions to look at all of the shows, and based on all of the shows, what are some of the things that you're finding? And that has proven to be something that has been very cool. Just the insights, the collective insights that we're able to pull from all of that information, 35 episodes of, all of this chit chat with people from all over the event world, and the speed at which it can look at all of that stuff and come back with really interesting insights is proving great as another piece that I can use, or that we can use, for content as well. So all good stuff, very cyclical.
Real quick, Chris, too.
Yeah.
It's not only taking this, what Fist Bump does, we don't only take this and turn it into a bunch of short little videos that you can post. Right. You take the transcripts and you turn it into email campaigns. You go share it out with your database. Hey, on this episode, this is what we talked about. This is who our guest was. Here's a little summary of it. You can turn that into LinkedIn newsletters. You can turn it into blog articles for your website. There's just so much you can do with a 1-hour piece of content. And content is still king, but the type of content is, and the style of the content is so important, as Brendon will agree with. I'm sure.
I agree.
Great place to put a pin in it. And we will say thanks so much for coming. Until next week, happy eventing, everybody, and have a great rest of your week. Cheers, gentlemen. Thanks for joining us. Brendon, Mr. Lee, Mr. Hamlin, all those guys.